Kuuluuko peliäänet? Laita Windowsia 30. Kuuluuko Verti siinä YouTube-linkissä, missä mä laitoin, niin kuuluuko siinä peliäänet? Kuuluuko Zoomissa peliäänet? Kirjoita chattiin. No. Mitä? Tuleeko mikki? Tuleeko mikki? Kuuluuko ääni? Instructions about ending. Laita johonkin.
Pitäisikö senkin olla tässä ulkopuolella?
Se voi olla siinä ulkopuolella. Tai laittaa vaikka tohon niinku hupparin tuohon.
Pysyy hyvin tossa.
Sit se taas.
Hello. Halo, kuuluuko? Testing 1, 2. Joo. Kuuluuko se mistään muualta kuin nyt kuin tästä? Oliko täällä joku niinku yleinen PowerPointti siis niinku sulle vai voiko tän pitää tässä? Joo. Jam Games tai joku. Ei. Ainakin kun sä menet tonne, niin sieltä pääsee tuolta kautta mun mielestä sinne Jam Gamesiin, kun sä avaat niistä peleistä. Ei. Siis avaat toi... Eiks täältä pääse niinku suoraan sinne?
Suoraan päälle? Okei, eli näin. Jos pistää se leukaan, niin hyvin kuuluu. Yes. Very hygienic. Mm-hmm. Before we start, for everybody, just a reminder, your one-on-one evaluation or evaluation days are going to be the second week of next year. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you have your names or IDs already in the one-on-one evaluation. The idea is that you come there and present your portfolio. You have about 20 minutes to present, and then we have 10 minutes questions and answers. And one of the evaluation criteria is that you participate in the other people's portfolio evaluation. So you get feedback, give feedback, and ask questions from them. Yeah. Yes, in the Moodle, yeah, you can send it later. Officially this ends at 19th, so just get the portfolio done before you come and present it, sir. Yes. So the deadline is the presentation day, like before the presentation day. Okay. Final presentations of YAMK BIT Ticorporate Demo Lab 2022. And yeah, the point is to present your projects, show them, and then we'll ask questions about your project and your product. Okay? We'll have this schedule is quite strict. So 20 minutes of presentation, 10 minutes for questions and answers. We'll have 3 groups before lunch, then we'll have a short lunch, and then we'll have the last two groups. The order doesn't matter, but prepare to be here a little bit after 1:30. Depends on how fast you do your presentations.
Ei. Oh my god. Hello everyone, my name is Jesse Voimala and I am once again presenting OKI Pull Up for the maybe 7th time during this Ticorporate. So here is the 7th edition of this presentation. This is why I wanted a PowerPoint. Yes, our game is OKI Pull Up, and in short it's a 3D rage platformer. Here are the roles of the team. So on the board you can see the non-game production related roles. So Eevi was the Scrum Master, I was the product owner, Tommi did marketing, Ilari did the game testing, and then there's the game related roles. The one worthy thing here to note is that we had only one programmer, who is Jerry, and that caused some issues, but we kind of played around it during the production of this game. So the original plan, during the prototyping phase we came up with the idea of making Jump King but in 3D space. So for those who don't know what Jump King is, it's basically this image here. You jump in 2D space and then if you fall here, oh no, you fall all the way down. But we wanted to try this in 3D, and based on the prototyping we did in the prototyping phase, it worked pretty well. So we went into the production with the mindset of making a full-fledged game out of this. So the focus was on making the controls responsive and making sure the gameplay is smooth, and so you can kind of speedrun the game, because that's one of the main demographics of the game. The level design was supposed to be punishing yet fair, so in short, if you fall, there is a risk of you falling all the way down, but it's 100% your fault, so it's a skill issue if you fall. And the art style was supposed to be stylized, so what were the examples we used? Maybe Tunic and a few other games that are like not really low poly but stylized with some minimalist textures and everything. And here's the original art for the capybara, and here's some level design, really early concepts from the prototyping phase. For the final game, we did manage to make a 3D Jump King. The game has really responsive controls, and the level design is extremely punishing, maybe even more punishing than we originally thought it would be. We kind of ditched halfway the stylized graphics, mostly because none of us wanted to do texturing, and we got lazy, and we decided we just want to focus on quantity over quality, because we wanted the game to be actually like multiple hours of gameplay instead of just like a demo of 5 minutes. And then in addition we at some point decided to add a mushroom village instead of just being like a tree with no inhabitants, to make it more like lively. And this is partly due to Risto's feedback early on that student games are usually like lack how would you say, they lack like animations, and you can tell that they're student games because they don't have any like notable characters or like visual variety and all that. So we kind of decided to add a village there to make it feel more lively. There's a lot of different platforms in addition to the like stationary ones. We added moving, rotating platforms. We added some timed platforms that tilt once you stand on them for too long. And there's some other like ice platforms and everything that was not part of the original vision, but they were a nice addition anyway. So we added some side characters. Here you can see the frog character that is called Dump King. Do not question the name. So we decided to implement some world building because of the mushroom village. So we wanted the actual story and like the inhabitants and what they do there in the tree, and yeah, it's kind of apparent if you play the game, but it's hard to get that far so that you can see the actual world building. But maybe we'll demo it later. So about the actual development process, what went well? This is written by Eevi, so our Scrum Master. She thinks the communication was good, and I kind of agree. We were efficient at communicating, even though some days we were not all present here, but mostly the communication was good. We found our own roles eventually, but originally we kind of everyone was doing a bit of everything with the exceptions of Jerry, who was just doing the programming. And then like midway through we all kind of found our own roles, so I decided to do 2D and art, like 2D art and UI, and then Tommy did most of the characters and animations and the animation controllers. Ilari did mostly like the background assets and then switched over to technical art, shaders, lighting and all that. And Eevi just focused on the level design. Yuri did mostly concepting and as well as some like background assets with 3D models. So what went wrong? Judging from the images, you can kind of get the general idea. So we had a lot of absences due to mostly maybe sicknesses, but also lack of motivation. And yeah, it was kind of freezing in the office. So Eevi is, you can see in the photo, she's working with a winter jacket on and gloves on. So the last 3 weeks of production we basically worked from home half days because it was just too cold to physically even be present here. Sometimes we added too many things to the product backlog and didn't manage to complete all of the issues and tasks we put there. So we kind of learned from the beginning that hey, we can maybe do a bit less than we expected because there's always some unforeseen events and problems that we don't account for. So that was an issue at the start, but we maybe got a bit better towards the end at like assessing how much time we have for each task and how much they will take. And yeah, we had a lot of hiccups with motivation, myself included. So people just not showing up to the office or just showing up to the office and not feeling motivated to do anything. And I don't know the root causes of this, but we can only speculate. I myself was guilty of this as well sometimes, so it is what it is. And like I said earlier, we only had one programmer, so that put a lot of pressure on Jerry. If he was not here and there was some major issues with the Git or something, we were kind of screwed and we didn't really know what to do. So yeah, that was an issue, but we kind of played around it pretty well in a sense that we designed the game originally from the ground up to be really simple in terms of like functionalities. So the only scripts and like game related things that Jerry had to code were the basic jumping interactions and movement. And after that it was just like additions, like small UI things and fixing bugs and everything. So he would handle the workload alone. But huge props to some of the other programmers who helped as well. So they, when we ran into problems and Jerry was not here, they stepped up and saved our asses. So what next? No product lab. Amen. Sad noises. We don't have time for that, and we have the thesis to do, so no product lab for us, but we will, based on the reviews and bugs we found from the Steam reviews, we will most likely make some hot fixes, but then just ditch the project unless some angel investor descends from the sky and decides to give us money, and then we'll maybe keep working on the game. But for now, no product lab. I will act as the Eevi here. So this is Eevi's slide. She learned a lot about the Scrum process. She was the Scrum Master, so she did all the reporting, supporting and leading things, keeping up with the progress, sprints, documentation, so keeping track of basically everything. She also learned a lot about Unity, how to properly use it, how to implement the actual levels, and how to work with the prefabs and make the levels into prefabs and so on. A lot about level design. She basically has made all the levels that are in the game from the assets that the rest of us made. So just assembled everything together. She learned about how publishing works, about Steam. I helped her with that a bit, but she knows quite a bit about that. And of course teamwork, so how to use GitHub, how to use ZenHub, how to communicate with each other, how to understand each other's skills and like make sure everyone is doing like what they do best. Then me as the product owner. This is me at the start. And this is me towards the end. And this is me now. So I learned a lot about Scrum as well. So all the basically the same things. We have some overlap with Evi about the ZenHub and product backlog. And then I learned about like the user stories, how specific they need to be, what you need to write on those, so to make sure you don't have to manually tell everyone like, hey, this is how I want this to do. You can just write in the task like, hey, this is the specification, it needs to do this, and if it does this, it's wrong. So I learned some things about 3D modeling, some low poly things. We tried to do some texturing, but yeah, early on we decided to ditch that, so that was just a bit of bonus. I mostly focused on the 2D, so I learned a lot about that, more about vector art, making 2D digital art, and then about the UI slash user experience design, how to make the gameplay, the game menus and everything like user-centric, to make sure like everything is where it's supposed to be and everything is where you expect them to be and everything does what it's supposed to. And how to implement this in Unity, so about the canvases and everything. I learned about the Unity as well, like about the prefabs, the UI things. I learned some things from Ilari about the lighting and the materials, how those work. And for me as well, the most important thing you can see on the bottom is teamwork. So instead of trying to do everything myself, I learned about like delegating the tasks to the other group members and communication. And one crucial thing that I learned, that even if I'm sick, it doesn't mean that the entire like process will just stop magically, and so the team pulled their weight even though when I was sick, so it was a good thing to learn. Do you want this?
Yes. You can hear from this, but yeah. I was the 3D guy of the group, so almost everything that's in the game, rather minus characters and some of the background assets were made by me. So that's the big thing that I learned. I also learned a lot of Unity. So before this whole project, I wasn't really familiar with Unity, but now I feel pretty confident about using it. So I was playing around with the lights, getting the shadows working and mixing lighting and post-processing and particles and whatnot. And that was something that I mostly focused towards the end of the project, and of course learned more about teamwork and Scrum, working as a team, and some about documentation, like how important it is to mark your hours and mark what you've done, so you remember and you can think about it back. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, so pretty much, what I learned was most of the same things: teamwork, Scrum process, etc., etc. But on the technical side, the low poly modeling, I managed to learn good-ish workflow for that, and realized that I don't like it that much. I prefer working on high detail sculpting and modeling, and somewhere during this whole process I gained motivation to start learning more, and I'm gonna start doing my own passion project after this, and it's just gonna be like solo at the start, but who knows who wanna join? So, yeah, Yuri did most of the concept art, and he was the idea guy for the two later levels at least.
Yeah, and the mushroom village.
Yeah, that's the second and third. Uh, he he did lot of learning in 3D. I guess he didn't use Blender that much before this, so it was good learning experience for him. And just teamwork and communication.
Alright, so stuff I learned during Ticorporate. A lot of Git troubleshooting in a more practical way. Like I knew like the basics and the concepts of what happens when you go wrong, but I haven't really collaborated before this. So just making sure everything is up to speed for everyone when something goes wrong is what I learned. I put in C#, but not really. I had a good grasp of C#, but it's more like of the Unity API and how Unity API interfaces with all of the objects inside of the engine. I learned a lot of implementation, colliders, why does something work, why doesn't something else work. And then I also learned that pressure makes code quality much worse at the start. I started out with some good, solid architectural stuff to make sure that everything is super accessible and that the level designers and basically anyone would just be able to change everything on a whim, like some kind of speed or some kind of bump power, or just like when does the falling animation start, why doesn't it start, and blah blah blah. And then the importance of pulling my own weight. Since I was the sole programmer, there was a lot of pressure, but I pulled through. And I learned to grind that, you know, getting up from bed, coming here, doing what you need to do, going home. And yeah, some phrases I've had is, okay, I fuck off now, I sleep, why does this work and why does this not work? And then I fuck off.
Thank you. So here's some quick things about the Scrum process. We did have daily Scrums. They helped everyone keep up to like whatever everyone was doing. Usually led us talking about what to do next and like maybe even some like game design elements. So they were really useful. Towards the end, we unfortunately didn't have as many because we were not physically present. The Scrum process helped and supported others if needed. And then we also had weekly Scrums sometimes. Towards the end, not at all. We took notes from sprint planning sessions, so those are all documented. We had the reviews and retrospectives, and we used post-it notes on the website for that. We tried a few of the tricks Jukka taught us during those things, and they were really useful, like the sprint reviews and retrospectives, especially like in the beginning. So then we have reported everyone's hours in the Scrum reports, and then we did estimations about the product backlog items with the poker planning that Jukka taught us, so that was a really useful tool, and after that we just kind of winged it, but that was a good starting point to learn to assess like the amount of points instead of like just hours. And if we had any issues, we mostly contacted Jukka. So there are actually no bugs in the game. Yes, there are. You can get stuck on everything, and the Steam reviews show that. But mostly, like 99% of the game is functional, I would say. And there's a screenshot of some of the, yes. Like Ilari said, there are no bugs. Here is a video. I hope it's not loud. This is the same trailer that is in Steam. he did in fact pull up. And one last thing, we have already gotten a few Steam reviews and people have been playing our game. So this smaller YouTuber LTT game made a gameplay review of the video game, and some of the feedback was that it's a really good game, very well made, good at what it does, which is great platforming. And then he said multiple times that the music was great, even though it was not even the final thing that's still in the game. So we have only the demo playing on loop. So he was jamming to the tunes quite a lot, and he said the game is slower than Jump King, which ends up that the game is more punishing. When you fall, you have to climb up, and it takes a lot more time. And apparently this was good game design, and it was totally intended by me as the product owner. And yes, he did run into a few bugs at the start, but they didn't affect the enjoyment. He did have to restart the game because of those, but since he was at the beginning, it didn't really matter. But there are some bugs at the later levels, unfortunately, but we'll maybe fix those. And then there's this mad lad who completed the game in 20 hours on the first day of release. And here's the yeah, the caption is 20 hours of playtime, and this is what I get. Would totally do it again. And as you can see, the ending of the game is you find a capybara princess, and she basically says, "You, I have a boyfriend," and then you have to jump down to your death. You have no other options. Yes, the game is in fact in Steam finally, so you can just Google it. It's pretty good, search engine optimized, so you can find it pretty easily. That's it. Thank you. Haluatko joku pelata sitä peliä tässä samalla otamme kysymyksiä?
Otetaan vaan kysymykset yli aikaa menette kuitenkin.
Joo.
So, any questions, comments? Do we need the mic for the questions? Or
I can shout at this.
Yeah, just I can take the question.
Yes, there.
Yeah. How did you find the guy who played your game? The one who made the video on it?
The question was how did we find the guy who did the game review, and the answer is Evi linked it to us, so no idea. Next one. There. Yes. Yeah, yes, the ending is happy. There, question.
First of all, shout out to the music. Also, just a general question. How do you feel now with this being done and having reviews and all this kind of stuff? How do you feel as a team?
Yes, they are very happy, and I personally kind of the whole thing like materialized in my head when I saw the first review, and in the review he didn't refer to the game as like, oh, this is a student game, I'm trying it out. He just said, this is a game and it's really good, you should try it, it's free. So that was like when I realized, okay, we actually made a game instead of just like a student project. So yeah, I feel pretty good right now, but very tired and mentally drained. Any more questions? There.
I have two-part question. First, the office. Why didn't you change the small office? Because you had the biggest office in the whole Sweden.
Why didn't we change to a smaller office? Because we were lazy and the other offices were cold as well, so yes.
Fine, computers and everything. But that's enough.
Yes.
Second question. Did your team understand why to do the scrumming and make time stuff for itself? Yes.
So did we understand why we do the whole scrumming thing? Yes.
Why you do the timetable for the production?
Ah, yes. Yes, we did. Wait, I'm not sure if I understood. I slept 3.5 hours last night, so basically, I would assume it's just like to make sure everything gets done like on time. It's not just like setting arbitrary deadlines. It's just like we did have like an actual roadmap in ZenHub for when each feature would be there.
And everybody knows what to do and when to do.
Yeah, and everyone knows like what we're supposed to be focusing on when what is each feature supposed to be ready. So you have like the 2 week sprint, and this is when the movement needs to be ready, and then the next sprint, this is when the UI needs to be ready.
It helps to kill the crunching.
Yes, that as well. And we did end up crunching a bit, but not that much. Ilari.
Yes, I think I have only one question for each group to point out the delay of the time, but we did it for everybody now. That why didn't you show on Wednesday the game itself? Like the 1 minute video would have been perfect.
What? When?
You said for Monday. No. I'm also left for our class. So why not? Because it's impossible to explain with the words or the PowerPoints. You see the game, it tells more than 10,000.
Okay, yeah, I got it. I forgot to put it in.
Okay, thank you for your honesty, but that was only true. And I claim also us that we should, that next time we should concentrate more on pitching and rehearse it. I think that, yes.
Yes, one more final question in the back.
Yeah.
So back to what I asked, should you now go to Steam and delete the display that this game is a student project?
Well, it kind of should we go and delete the disclaimer that this is a student game in Steam? I personally would say no, just because then we can use it as an excuse, like, hey, there's bugs, but it's a student project. But then when someone is like, hey, this is an actual game, we're like, yes, it is an actual game.
Okay.
But yes, that's my opinion.
I can give a comment.
Yeah.
The players don't care is it the still right or not.
Yeah, they are
True.
sitting down on it anyhow.
Yeah, you can take it away because it doesn't matter. If someone would like the game and play similarly and love it, and someone may, oh, it has a bug. So don't demean your own stuff.
It's not demeaning to say it's a student, it's just raising them up. They, as students, they have achieved
Yeah.
a full game, so
It's a good.
yeah, so just leave it in there.
Yes, that is it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it working now? Okay.
I was just waiting for you to start the presentation.
Why do I have to hold this?
In the top right corner, there's the full screen arrows.
Oh, you have to press the arrows. No, not there. There. Okay, there we go. So, are you guys ready? Okay. So, can we start? Okay. So, welcome everyone to our final presentation of our game. We're here once again. Our team is the 13 Candles team, and that is also the name of our game. My name is Juho. These are our here you can see what roles all of us had. So I was the programmer, and I also handled some of the testing and quality assurance stuff. Suat was also our second programmer, as well as the product owner. Ganwu over here, if you can step out.
Yeah.
So Ganwu was our level designer, as well as our scrum master. Anni was our 3D designer and animator, and Ayako was our 2D designer, handling some of the 2D animations as well as the narrative, and she also handled the user interface and user experience stuff. So fonts, the visuals of the menus. And finally, lastly, we had Mira Oja, who handled all the audio design. So he made all the sounds, the music for the game, as well as handled some of the voice acting, or well, arranged it. He himself didn't voice act here, and he also handled the marketing part. So our current our current product really has changed from the original plans that we had. So some of the, as you can see from some of the major changes that we have here, we originally planned to have a time limit for the game, a global time limit, so that you have only a certain amount of time to complete the game, or like when the time limit would be breached, then it would basically become almost impossible to win, as the enemy would just ramp up in aggression as the time passed, so making it even more difficult to play. So we basically changed it now, partially due to time constraints, and also like we managed to simplify the design of the game. So we removed the time limit completely. So now there's a static aggression for the enemy as you complete the stages. So when you go up a stage, then the enemy is just simply more aggressive on that stage. We also added these emotional objects on the levels. That's basically to, when the player finds it, it basically displays this image that basically resembles the emotion attached to the enemy on that level. So it goes through these various emotions, becoming more and more agitated as you play. As well, we had originally planned, partially, I think it was during the original prototyping, when Ayako and Suat made the original prototype, the enemy appeared in the wall during that prototype. We planned originally for the enemy to be able to just, in its first phase, just be a shadow on the wall, and it would move along the walls. Or maybe later on it could also climb on them in a more physical state. However, that was too difficult to implement, so we decided to just simply scrap that idea. And we also received some feedback from, I believe, Risto, who actually gave us some guidance on how to basically implement the enemy in a more better way. Like he gave us he mentioned basically projecting the shadow from an invisible enemy. As for the unique selling points for this game, basically we banked more on the narrative. So as you progress through the game, well, actually I should mention about the narrative first. Since you play as a girl named Sarah, so she wakes up in a hospital after her birthday. You don't know why she's there, but as you progress through the game, you actually find more context clues as to what actually happened. So you can reveal the story as you progress through the game. We also, well, as we mentioned before, we wanted to really enhance the atmosphere and the sounds for the game. So that would be our main point for the horror. So it's not about jump scares, it's more about the atmosphere, like in Amnesia. As for the marketing, well, we targeted basically horror game fans, basically guys who are also interested in, or just people in general interested in like story-based games. And also another one of our selling points would have been to like basically release the soundtrack for the game as well as the art for the game. Now Suat will say what he has to say about his part in the process.
Hello. So what went well for me, I am more familiar with Unity and C# as a programmer, and project management skills. We had difficulties. I had difficulties with the product owner task, like scheduling the Zen Hub or managing Zen Hub totally. Yeah, I had problems with that, but I believe I managed to solve those problems. And project planning, I could plan better because at the first weeks, I think, after the prototype phase, I had to plan programming side of the project, but I couldn't. I could do better actually. So yeah, it caused problems. What was fun working together and working on a bigger project was fun for me, but yeah, an experience.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. So it's still my turn. So from my point of view, so what went well? Well, I managed to adapt to the changes that occurred during the project, and I was able to learn even more about Unity and learn to utilize some features that I hadn't used before. And I also had to basically go around and figure out all kinds of various features for the game. So like we attempted stuff like having separate audio channels and stuff like that. Some of the difficulties that I faced basically, well, I think some of the other teams also mentioned about this, or some people might have complained that there wasn't as much time to work on the project as there probably should have been. And also because of having multiple roles to balance, it also ended up taking up so much. It ended up taking time away from the project, as well as having other courses running in the background. So I also had to dedicate time to them. So that also took away some time. And also, this autumn especially was very rough for me, like mentally. Like I would be lying if I said that I didn't feel like demotivated when working in this. Like I had a lot of setbacks in personal life, but I just basically toughed it out and basically did the best I could. And as to what was fun with the project, well, basically every time when we made a massive breakthrough, like when we were having trouble with certain parts, or once we managed to implement something successfully, like it was always a good feeling to make some more progress for the game. And as well as getting to actually know my team members better, because of COVID, we had to most of the time, or like over half of our time here at Yamuk has been remote. So I hadn't been able to actually get to know my peers personally. So it was good to get to know them finally. And now also when it came to testing games from other groups, that was also a lot of fun during the project.
For me, what went well was modeling assets. I didn't really have much issues with that, and I completed what I planned to do and a few more. And bringing assets to Unity wasn't a lot of issues. For me, what was hard was customizing textures, because I hadn't really done that before, so I had to learn quite a lot. And had to spend time researching. I also had some motivational issues, but still I came here when I had to. So that was good. And fun was working on a bigger project, making 3D models, because that's what I want to do. Animation was also fun, and talking with the team members.
So for me, what went well was 2D asset and cinematograph for menu. That I thought it might be difficult to do only moving part of the picture, but luckily I found a good tutorial. And difficulty was making 2D things looks 3D, like in animation in book page turning animation. But in the end, I managed. And what was fun was animation in After Effects. Paint and Photoshop from tutorials. And sorry, I forgot to put, but getting to know the member as well. Yes.
I'll be speaking on behalf of Mira, who is unfortunately not here today. So he basically mentioned that in his part, like what went well is basically getting all the music tracks done, and he managed to get the sound effects mixed, and they were, well, as we've tried in the game, like he really did a good job in getting those sound effects and all the various audio done. He also set up the YouTube and Discord channel, and as well as a support email, so he was glad to have done that. Obviously, some of his difficulties were that he was sick quite a lot, so he missed quite a few days, so he wasn't able to spend time on the marketing, since that was also his other role in this group. Yeah, it was really unfortunate. Like we really didn't know like why he was sick. Like it just might have been just some really persistent flu. It's the flu season after all. And what was fun? Well, he has mentioned that the fun part was basically doing the Foley sounds with the group, as well as doing the music and trying out different styles and different moods for the setting of the game.
For the Scrum point, these are what we were successful at. So although it wasn't perfect, but we tried to make an attempt to work together with face-to-face and welcome changes after feedbacks and retrospective from the Scrum. And also beside there, for customer satisfaction, we know we didn't have a customer, but we have made an attempt to keep our motivation with the attitude of simplicity. But meanwhile, in a way, we became demotivated, unfortunately, inactive, and passively engaged after the post-production phase, or even during it. Yeah, to be honest, it caused by losing kind of responsibility, and created a helplessness, and it ended up affecting our project, or over a certain sprint. And this has been the biggest challenge for us at some point. What we really want to say is, while managing this matter, at the same time, we've learned that working as a team, the most important thing is not only a sense of belonging and sustainability in a team, but also responsibility. And gaining a solution, from my view, such as like self-management or self-retrospective on this matter will be our next thing to do. So it's time to watch our trailer video. Ah, okay. And this is a link for our current build, and then the fortunately it's released at yesterday in Steam, and it was successful.
It was calculated because of the 13 and 13.
Yes, it is.
Yes, calculate.
Yes, as we intended. Okay. And then this is the link for our YouTube and Discord channel. And also, if you have a question regarding our game, you can send us an email through this address. Thank you.
So now you can ask any questions you have. So go ahead, Juho. So the question was, what would we do from the differently if we had to start from the beginning?
For
Well,
the level, for the level design, I'm going to make, if there is a chance, I'm going to change the size of the map, because from the very first feedback, it was the people might say it was too big and then too it was uninfluent. Yes, it was difficult to navigate, and then it was difficult to be guided for the level design. So
you could
yeah,
easily lost there.
yes, that's my fault.
If you to answer that, I'd say probably what I would change is basically if I had the knowledge of what we've done, we basically just reallocate our time differently and basically focus on the things that mattered the most. So if we had the experience from this first attempt. Let's go. Yes.
Yeah, speaking of level design, the first interaction like I saw with your game was when I walked into your office and I saw you were making the level like in Blender, the entire level like in one Blender file instead of like modular parts. So did you go with that plan, or did you end up making the like level design parts modular and then making the?
So the question was that that Jesse basically saw during our production phase that we were making the level as a single Blender file instead of making it modular. So did we end up doing it as a single file, or did we make it a modular level?
Yeah. So as a module file, I created some module file for the next level, not the level you saw before. And yes, and thankfully it was very helpful, and then very successful for it. Yes. So yeah, I tried. Yes.
So Pekka.
Okay, so would you guys be open to working on a horror game again on a different style, or do you feel comfortable with the genres?
So the question was that would we be comfortable working with a horror game again, or maybe in another genre of it? Possibly. Personally, I might skip for now because we have the thesis starting in the spring, so at least for now, I probably wouldn't.
It was more so just maybe in the distant future, like how much did you actually enjoy it?
Possibly. Yeah. I'm not ruling it out as an option. Like I could totally see it. So, yeah.
What others? What about others? Yes. Others in the
So Ani says she would. What about Suat and Ayako?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, Suat says he's not sure, and Ayako would. Okay. Now then, question over there in the back. You. Kalle.
Which one in the back? Same question as the previous team. Now you're released on Steam. Does this work? This sounds like shit.
Super blown
I
up.
was just given this, so it's amazing.
Okay.
Thank you. I shall speak more quietly. Same question as for the first team. Now that you're released and on Steam, how do you feel as a team right now?
Personally, I'm pretty relieved that we got this far. That we managed to complete the project basically.
I guess I can say that we achieved our goals for all, and we are happy about it.
Any other questions still? Go ahead.
Would you consider this as a VR experience? Would you like to do it as a VR experience?
So the question was, would we consider doing this as a VR experience? Absolutely. I think it could work. It would just need to be have some additions made to make it viable for VR, I think.
Original plan was if we have time more, we will try to make another VR game, same game. But unfortunately, we didn't have any time left, so we had to skip. But in the future, we might, if we have chance.
Are there still any questions? Well, that's it for us then. Thank you.
Sorry, I've never used a mic like this. I need to test it. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Huh? I don't know how to do that. I've never used it.
There you go. You put this one in your pocket, and this one should go.
No, it doesn't even work. Does it?
Yes, it works.
Okay, okay. So are we ready now?
Yes.
Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Veikka Voutilainen, and this is our group, Team Puzzle Punk. It consists of, firstly, we have me. I'm design, so game design and the puzzle design in the game, some narrative implementation, and I am the Scrum Master for the Scrum process in this group. And then Paul, who did the programming, version control, and publishing, so he was the lead programmer. And then we have Matti, who did the sound design, so the soundtrack and the sound effects, and the narrative script for the dialogue. And then Miles, the product owner, also created the original narrative structure and the narrative skeleton, came up with the original concept with Paul, and did the concept and character art. Juho, here behind me, did the cutscene arts, UI arts, and some design for them, and then also was part of the QA team. And the second person in the QA team was Jonas, who also did the level art and the environmental art and the design, so the level layouts. And then Jerry, here in the back, the animator, also implementation, and the marketing person. So, what is our game? Well, it's Rootless Memories of Green. And this game is, in its current iteration, a story-focused adventure game, and it has emphasis on characters and dialogue. The gameplay comes from the logical puzzles with some info gathering, and we heavily used modular design to design these puzzles and the gameplay in general. So, it's targeted towards people who like stories and puzzles, so the age range can go anywhere from 12 to 40 or even 50 or 60, depending on the person. So it's good for everyone that enjoys stories and have any sort of attention span for a game like this. And it's a very indie style game. The character designs and the aesthetic are big selling points. So our aesthetic is sort of cyberpunk, futuristic, almost post-apocalyptic, but yeah. And the character designs are meant to be cute, and yeah. And the current version of the game versus the original plan. Well, the original plan Paul and Miles came up with during the concepting phase of the Ticorporate, and it was initially a point-and-click adventure, and it was more focused on the story, even though it still is, but it was less about the gameplay and more about the story. The puzzles actually focused on interacting with NPCs and gathering information, so no modular design really, just information gathering puzzles where the player really had to read and think instead of using their brain in a specific setting. The aesthetic, story, and the world are the same as they were in the original concepts, but obviously some things did change on the surface level, at least, with the introduction of more people into the developer team. So, what went well? Well, there weren't many conflicts. The communication was very good between the team members. The content quality is very good given the time frame. We've gone over these points in the previous presentation. There's not much difference, but to give the current POV, these points still stand. And yeah, so everyone was faithful to the work schedule and being present at DGC up until the very end. There was some remote work being done on things like reports and more specific programming things, for example, where you really need to be in a very comfortable work environment at your home if you're that type of person. So some compromises, but up until the end it was very consistent through and through. So work was mostly enjoyable for all, again up until the end, but some different opinions on this did pop up towards the end, but again it's kind of negligible. Each person's skills were utilized, and there was some talk about this during the start where it wasn't very clear on what each person would be doing, but creating different work groups like the narrative group, the implementation group, the QA group, all this stuff really helped in making each person comfortable with what kind of skills they had to use and what kind of skills they wouldn't have to use. And the Scrum worked pretty well. some issues with it, mayhaps, but overall, I think it really helped the process, and it really helped our group really get to know each other on top of also working with each other. So, and then some difficulties, and I'll hand this over to you, Ho.
Is this okay? This is so we had some difficulties, as probably all of the other groups as well. And well, first, I wouldn't say that the scope of the game was like that, like over the size that we could do, but more so that we had to cut some stuff and adjust it during the project. And well, maybe we had like also some problems estimating the workload for the project, and we had to swap around some tasks to get everything done. But there wasn't like anything that huge there either. Then maybe the most difficult thing was the art direction, which ended up being more challenging and time consuming than we thought, and we had to plan around that quite a lot, but I think we managed quite well in the end. And then also at the end of the project especially, the motivation started to lower a bit, and yeah, there wasn't like that much stuff to do for everyone, so that might have also affected it, because we just had to come here and we didn't always have much to do. Yeah. Then, well, the finalizing plans, these are kind of outdated, but currently we haven't like talked about and discussed what we want to do in the future for this project, and if we want to do anything for it, and it's still in the air. We haven't decided, and at least some people are open to the idea of continuing this to the product lab, and we're gonna continue discussing about it.
Yeah. These points are very outdated, so yeah. So yeah, about the Scrum process, since I'm the Scrum Master, I'll cover this part. So the daily Scrum was at 10:30 every day, and it took like 5 to 10 minutes. Everyone gave updates on what they were doing, what they did last time, and brought up any important things. You know, we had the weekly meetings on Friday where I would report to the teachers of the Ticorporate course about how things were going and the overall work hours. But it was usually just update for teachers and miscellaneous topics, like if someone's going to be absent or anything like that. So yeah, and then the retrospective and the kind of the sprint review, that was more so like really unfiltered discussion about how everyone felt and how the project was going, and any improvements for future sprints that we would commit to. For example, being more active on the Zen Hub and being more clear about the user stories and acceptance criteria in the different backlog items. No problem. So it really felt useful, and the dynamic between the Scrum Master and everyone else felt natural. I really enjoyed working with this group as the Scrum Master. Everyone was very easy to talk to, and after some trouble in the beginning with the communication, I think everyone really let their personality out and were more open about, you know, their opinions and what they didn't like and what they did like. So I don't think we would have ever approached at such a positive attitude towards the game if it wasn't clear. So really did help us with organizing the work and the communication.
So then, what did we learn? Is this on? Oh, okay. What? Okay. So what we learned, well, most of us had not worked with pixel art before, so for the artists especially, it was like a quite a learning experience to like really plan and implement all of the pixel art. And there was a lot of discussion like what like aspect ratio and what pixel size to use, and also of course the like actual drawing process. Then also I think like almost everyone in the group had to work at least in some capacity with Unity, and with all of us I think it's pretty safe to say that all of us got more confidence for working with Unity, and we also all improved on teamwork skills, because well this was a teamwork project, and yeah, there were problems that we needed to solve as a team, and yeah. And then lastly the Scrum process, that was like a really important thing to learn, and I think all of us like now know that how important Scrum is for projects like this, and we really learn to work with like Scrum process as this. And then we're gonna go and like have like each of us say like some like our personal perspective on what we have learned. And first I could say that I learned like just like internal working in a game project, like a real game project, and it was like a really good experience. And also I got more like confidence and experience on working in a team, and just like most of the stuff that I listed in the just said in the general things that the group as a whole learned, I could say that those are the same things that I learned as well.
So, what did I learn mostly? Well, I got to really practice my overall strengths with like narrative design and just being a management person, and you know, presenting like right now. And but then some more unfamiliar stuff like working with 2D Unity, I got to learn a lot about with Paul's help for the implementation, and I actually really enjoyed that, even though it was mostly basic stuff like repetitive things. I didn't mind it because you know, it's working towards a goal. So I think I learned a lot about Unity and how the different components work and like all that stuff, which I wasn't super good at yet prior to this course. So I'm very happy with what I learned. And overall POV is just leaving very positive on this, and I am in need of a break now, so it's good that we got that done. But yeah, overall very positive feelings after the course, and I feel like I actually learned a lot on both the design and the implementation, and then also the Scrum Master work. So
Yeah. Well, I was the animator, and I felt like I learned a lot about like a basic animation process even more than before, and also because I haven't done pixel animation before, so that was a big learning project, especially since I did like 400 frames total for this project. Mm. Also, I felt like I learned a lot about Unity and the implementation of the animations there, also in general, especially from all the problems that I faced with Unity and GitHub too. Uh, I felt a little bit disappointed that I didn't learn too much about the marketing. Uh, it was kind of, I had to put it aside a lot more than I wanted in the end, but I still learned to manage a little bit the social media side. Overall, I feel good about this and feel like I'm ready to work on more big projects in the future.
Hi, I'm Miles, and I have learned a lot about team working. I really like working face to face with a team, and like Yoho and Jonas has taught me a lot in using Photoshop tools and drawings and stuff like that. And I also have learned that like in game industry we don't have a like static job. Like for example, if you are a programmer, you are not like 100% just do programming things, but you will move around like to any position that the team need. For example, I am basically a narrative designer, but I also do character concept art, and I also do cutscene art when Yoho has so many cutscenes to do that he cannot do everything.
And I also like sketch the environment so that Jonas can draw the based on that. So the job is flexible, like helping around the team, and it was fun.
So I was the level artist in the game, and I learned a lot about pixel art and just level design in general, what to think about and how to make the environments interesting and bring the story with the art style together. And then I think I also learned a lot about the process of how to do a full game and what it takes. And then I learned a lot about different tools like Unity and GitHub, and I also learned a lot about Photoshop more, some things I didn't know about. So yeah, making the game a lot.
Okay. Can you hear me? I'm just going to hold it. But yeah, I'm the programmer, and for me it was like, well, I did mostly programming, but I also learned how to like make my code like in documentation so that others can use it and I can delegate the work without having to do everything like by myself. So I learned a lot how to like make it readable and accessible for others. I also learned how to like do version control a lot and how to manage the work from like different people and how to merge them all, how to like try to put it all together and how to like connect people to use GitHub properly because they take a lot of shortcuts and because it's easier that way. And it overall was like a really fun learning experience, and I had a lot of fun and learned a lot of stuff, a lot of new stuff as well.
Yeah, I did writing and sound stuff, and what I learned, yes, the kind of a work order that is apparently typical in video gaming industry, or kind of a simulation of it. It was a good practice for that, and I did learn something about the sound, the more technical side of the sound mixing and music, and the kind of mixing the post-production stuff that I haven't done before, or at least learned from it through Jaakko, who did mostly of the more technical production stuff and learned it at the same time while I was following it. So yeah, lots of new technical stuff and lots of new organizational stuff. Yeah.
Okay, and then we're gonna show the trailer on Steam. So that's our trailer. Here are the links, and now if there's any questions we would like to answer. Sorry, what did you say, Teemu? Oh, that thing?
Yeah, it's me. Yep.
Okay. So, Kalle had a question. Last time I saw someone throw that, it broke something, so.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Wow, the quality is really good.
After the Christmas holiday, me and Ilari will be going to practice some pesäpallo throwing. Yes. So I have.
Excuse me, can everyone be quiet? Because I can't hear the question.
So, apart from my usual question of how do you feel, I find this game to be probably the most aesthetically complete and pleasing of all the projects here. There are strong competitors, but as a complete aesthetic, this is very well made. How did you as a team come up with now the audio, the visual side, the story? How did this all come together?
Do I need to repeat the question, or can they hear it in the stream with the mic?
They should hear it now, yes.
Okay, they should hear it now. Well, for the how it came to be, I need to give the microphone to either Miles or Paul, because they were the original creators, so whichever wants to.
Okay, so basically I am the one who have the original idea for the game, and I tell everyone in the team about that and try to make them understand the atmosphere of the game, so that we can like clearly understand how to make the atmosphere to the game to the closest to the vision of the game. So Jonas has done very excellent things that he like do the very beautiful visual art and environment for the game, and Matti like do the dialogue based on my story idea, and everything like just work together like making game is forming up many beautiful things together to make a final product. So yeah, it's an art of making game.
So how do you feel now that the game is in Steam and finished as a team?
As a team, well, I think everyone is very relieved, because it wasn't that tiring up until the final like 2 weeks when it became very tiring. So I think everyone's very relieved and pretty happy with what we've accomplished. At least I think it's looking at the original plan in terms of the scope, it's pretty much the same as the original plan. We only had to cut a few things to make the deadline. So yeah, I think everyone is quite happy with what we made. Yeah, Ilari.
Hey, just as a comment, not as a question. All of the groups has been you've been also mentioned the motivation issues, and there are phases where in artistic work, and I want that you think, and I will ask this from you when we have one-on-one discussion. That you can I hope that you are like as you are now like a reflective for your work, but I will ask these things also from there, that you can see the points where you see that okay, I know by heart myself that a few weeks before the premiere there is an there might be situations where the motivation issues, or it depends always. One thing more, a comment more kind of like, why didn't you show the or question, why didn't you show the in a expo meeting on Monday this beautiful trailer?
Because we had a 5-minute time limit.
Yeah, okay, but it would have been like a fantastic to have it but I know that and as I mentioned with the first group that it's also our problem. It's not like it's everything is as mentioned way back that everything is about learning. But I think that we need to figure out. I hope that this continues.
So what was the other question you had?
From my behalf, it was more kind of comment.
Okay, thanks for the comment.
And thank you for. I hope that you continue.
Okay. Juho.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Actually, my comment there, but if I remember correctly, yesterday when we had business communication, everybody had a teaser trailer or something in the pitch. So people basically fixed what you just said, but we showed it in actual course. So,
good to know.
Yeah.
But it's like for the future purposes, just that like it's our
And
Yeah, you have a question as well.
I don't have a question, but I also agree that your game is aesthetic. What's the word? I don't know.
Aesthetically.
Yeah, most pleasing out of all the groups.
Thank you. Everyone appreciates that. Okay, any other questions?
Can you raise your hand? No, I don't need that one. Can you raise your hand? How many of you are definitely going to continue with this one? Or maybe?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any definitives. It's up in the air, but
This is okay, but have this discussion.
yeah, we are planning to, but I think right now everyone wants to take a break.
Connect that one to pieces too, so okay.
Okay, anything else? No. Okay, I think we're done then, so thank you guys.
All right. So, hello. I'm Peter. Once again, up here presenting Fingerbang for the umpteenth time with my trusted team members Aleksi, Teemu, Anton, and Jukka. And yeah, it's gonna be a lot of the same old, same old. So, the original plan for the game versus the product we have right now is almost exactly identical. So practically nothing was cut from the product throughout the production phase. We actually added some features that were not originally part of the plan because we had some extra time on our hands, and some mechanics were slightly modified based on testing and feedback in general, and our own testing as well. And overall, the process was almost exclusively additive, so basically nothing was removed, but some things were added that were not initially planned for. And as far as the unique selling point goes, the game is still a mixture of retro and modern with replayability via the ranking system. And for the target market, fans of all kinds of FPS games, and particularly fans of retro shooters and score and rank hunters. And a metric ton of features that we have in place in the game right now. So So, is this working either? Okay, cool. Let's carry on. So, we have both a movement system with jumping and dashing, and we have competent shooting with separate hitboxes for the enemies. We have a melee attack that also functions as a parry when timed against enemy projectiles. We have on-demand bullet time, two distinct power-ups, both allow for different effects for the, or buffs for the player, faster fire rate and increased damage and healing and damage reduction and so on. We have 3 complete separate levels, each with different goals, and we have scoring and ranking for each level, and each level has unique thresholds score-wise as well. We have several hidden secrets as well in all of the levels, at least 2 per level, and we also have several crossover Easter eggs between the games. And finally 2 boss encounters, one with fully fledged mechanics and phases not featured anywhere else.
Okay, whoa. About the Scrum process, overall everything went well, although we did end up changing it a little bit in the end because we didn't have that much stuff to do anymore, so we ended up dropping the daily Scrum like completely and just focus on what we had in the Kanban. We completed every item in our backlog and did further additions as well, and here you can see the data. So basically this works as, when this goes all the way up, that means that all the issues that we have are closed. And we have only, or we ended up only scraping like 4 ideas only, which were mainly PO server tasks.
Because it's always fun to come up with cool ideas and then they get thrown into the bin. Yeah, the current state of the game, it is released and live on Steam, has been since last Friday, and we have received generally positive feedback from reviews, as well as one request for an additional quality of life feature in the game, which is inverted aim. And we actually did make a patch yesterday where we included this feature as well as some slight fixes here and there. And we immediately also had to hotfix the patch because we forgot one important detail about the patch, and now we have 2 patches back to back, basically. And as of right now, we have no additional patching planned, but we have a active bug tracker thread going on in the discussions tab on Steam. So if people run into anything, they can post it there, and we'll try to fix it. And as for the future, production will move over to Product Lab, and everyone in some capacity will continue on with the project, because we have a ton of ideas and things we didn't get to implement yet, and we did want to keep this version of the game somewhat contained. And we already have a structure for narrative covering the entirety of the game. We have several additional levels already planned. We have new mechanics, enemies, and power-ups, further refinement for the current levels. We're going to change our way of building the levels, because the current method is not sustainable in the long run. We will have additional difficulties and adjustable difficulty in the first place, so you get to have an easier go of things if it's too difficult for you. We are going to have a proper checkpoint system. So, for example, if you die to a boss, you don't have to do the entire level all over again. And as well as saving player records, and in general, just integrating things with Steam better. So we're gonna try our hand at Steam leaderboards and achievements and whatnot. And there's a link to our Steam page and QR code for our questionnaire, which is non-functional, I think, at this point. At least it is completely unnecessary.
Testing. Hello? Hello? At least it's on. I guess you can hear me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take away the Doom box.
Yes, please do. And as for my personal findings and whatnot throughout this entire process, I'm still one of the two original vision holders, and I had the final say in all the mechanics and gameplay design in the game. And as far as general responsibilities go, gameplay design in general, so mechanics, interactions, features, whatnot, mostly went through me. The design and creation of the entirety of the training level, and the creation and gameplay design for the Red District level, so basically building it off of Alex's blueprint. And programming and creation for some minor functionality scripts, mostly triggers and boss mechanics and smaller scale stuff, not any major features of the game, are done by me. And then editing and adjustment of various assets to better fit the overall project. So I had to tweak some textures, some audio, and some code every now and then. And then all the publishing stuff and everything to do with Steam fell on my hands, and it actually wasn't as bad as I thought. It went pretty smoothly, and everything's been smooth sailing for now, at least. And I've also accidentally become our community manager, so yeah, these things happen. And also various little changes and adjustments throughout the production, so I'm basically still the handyman of the team as well, doing whatever needs to be done when it needs to be done. And also the spokesperson for the team, as may have become obvious over these 3 months. I'm usually the guy to ask about things about our game, or the person to contact if you need to get in contact with us. And in general, I learned quite a lot more about the entire development process from the design viewpoint especially, and some interesting new things about Unity. I hate lights in Unity with a passion now. And I also gained some valuable insight about planning, because we actually started the entire process by setting up like a clear plan of what to include and when, and then working upwards from there, and that seemed to work out fine. So that was a pleasant learning experience for me, at least. And also scheduling and getting the extremely helpful feedback from everyone else that not everything that I come up with should be put into the game, because it would probably introduce some unnecessary feature creep in the end. Before I drop things further, here's Alexi.
Hello. Yes, I'm the second original vision holder, and I had the final say in the art direction of the game. So my responsibilities were the character art and animation, including the players, the enemies, and the bosses. I designed the Red District level, which Peter then put together in Unity. I wrote the narrative script, and I designed the narrative around the gameplay and the levels. I also did the cutscene art and the direction of the cutscenes, and if you skip them, I will cry, because literally everyone skipped them. And it took me like 3 weeks. so, yeah, but it was fun. It was really fun. So I learned quite a lot about development in a team, as well as like the design viewpoint and the narrative viewpoint in game development, which is really a role that I really want to like get more into because I'm more of a writer, artistic type of person. I learned a lot more about story writing and the narrative design, as well as like how to write an actual screenplay in the right format for production. And I learned a lot more than I thought about 2D animation because I didn't even realize that I needed to do the animations, and just kind of accidentally happened. So I was able to like draw them frame by frame and then implement them in Unity. Yeah, I think that's it. And next we have Anton.
Okay, so my main responsibilities were creating the AI according to our PO's needs. So first of all, I came up with like a plan that I drew out, like how's the AI should behave in different scenarios, and then ended up writing a final state machine based logic for it. And I was originally the first one who did the light implementation study basically, and find out like what we can do to make the lights look good in our game. I'm also the implementer of the barrier mechanics, and of course I did some bug fixing like basically everyone. I was also the Scrum Master, and we all pretty much did some optimizers in Unity, so it's not only my part. So, and what I learned from is basically just working more with the final state machine and Lightning in Unity.
Yeah, so I was responsible of the environmental art in the game. So pretty much every texture you can see in the game is made by me. And coming to the product lab, as of now, oh shit, sorry. As of now, we have done our whole game with the shapes from Unity straight away. So we will be implementing some Blender stuff into the game later on, which will be my responsibility later on. And so far I have made the nightmare level and implemented it whole, enemies and all. And I also did like those logos and UI and stuff, and also the Steam pages art. And I learned a great deal about working in a team, generally about the tools and Unity of course, and how to create art, specifically like pixel art. It's pretty hard. And yeah, I have had so much fun with these guys, and I'm looking forward to spring.
Hello. So I was part of the team for programming, designing some environmental visual effects and QA testing, and also what I programmed in the project was all of the gameplay mechanics which player will be using, and also the menu system and options to it, and then I tried to make it as readable as possible for the others so they can expand if they really need to do it. And the QA testing was kind of funky in that sense that in the beginning of the project we used to have the own pipeline for the testing, but then we realized during the project work that actually we need to have a bit more flexibility because we don't have enough time to dedicate just for the testing. So we always, when new mechanics were introduced, some of the whoever had some time were testing the newest implementation to the project and give the feedback and any sort of like a feedback also to the bugs, so we can immediately try out to fix the bugs and not for the future be fixing there, because then it'll be pain to do it. I learned a lot of new things, for example, for the project management, programming for the patterns and the style, how to do it, and it's much more readable than what it used to be in the beginning. On the Unity side, I was also using the profiling tool for checking out how well it performs scene by scene. So if there's any kind of a huge hiccups, I could easily just tell to the people that, hey, there's something to do or wrong going in the project, so please check it out. And then especially the collaboration with art team members was one of the biggest thing, because what I understood that they have different mindset how they think. So I really needed to relearn everything, that how they actually function as a human beings. And that was fun in the end, especially with doing the cutscenes with Alexi. He gave 90 different animations, and I was hooking up every bit of animations to the cutscenes, and in the end I just had bloody fingers and happy feelings. Feeling more confident about my own skills on the project, and as I have noted myself that learning never stops really.
Alrighty, that's it for the presentation itself. Before we move on to the trailer, we can already put it on, not on, but ready in the background. You can put it on full screen. But a quick shout out to also our audio teams. So 2 audio teams essentially. We had 2 people from Team Academia helping us with the music. So they basically produced us 3 unique tracks for the game. And also our internal audio team as well, Jaakko, Mira and Matti, who produced us mostly all of our sound effects. Not all of them, we had to do some digging up of our own from various sources, but also a lot of your guys' sounds are in the game, so thank you for that. And now for the trailer. And I think that's it before questions. All right, go ahead, Kalle.
Are you happy with that? Happy? Yes. Okay, great. Two things. First, I believe that Mira and Matti and Jaakko have been talking about continuing with doing some sort of a project about all the sounds that they have produced. Is that still going on, or is that idea still Mira and Matti? So when you continue into product lab, you should probably have a discussion together also about the sound department, if there is something more you can do together. So just a heads up.
Yes, definitely.
But the same question for you as for with everyone else. Now that the game is released on Steam, you have critique in Steam as well, which is I think is good if you've read the comments so far. But how do you feel now as a group? Coming here, you already know that you're going to product lab, which is very nice.
So I guess you feel good, but how does it feel now to reach this point in the development?
Well, for me personally, it's well-deserved break at this point because I don't think I've taken practically any breaks so far throughout this semester. But I'll enjoy the couple of weeks off and then continue at full steam with the project because there's still a lot of stuff that I want to get into the game, that I wanted to get into the game in the first place. But we had to set the limit somewhere for the demo, and yeah, I think I'm happy that we have something to show people, and we managed to get it out on time and in mostly functioning order as well. There were very little, like we didn't have to fix any critical bugs in our patches, so we basically had a functioning game from the get-go to put on Steam, and I'm overall very happy with the fact that we managed to get it out and have something for people to test out and try out and give feedback on, and then we can maybe hopefully take some of that into account when continuing on with development. Anybody else?
Yeah, kind of like what Peter said, I also need a break. But I have kind of prepared for the next spring because, as I said about the narrative writing, I've actually planned pretty far ahead in that regard, just in case we actually move forward. And I know this started like, you know, finger bang, haha, you know, funny gimmick game, but I really wanted to like write an actual like serious narrative. So I've got some cool ideas for that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Any other questions? Yes, Ilari.
When Alexi was talking about the narrative, because of the nature of the product lab, it's a little bit different compared to demo lab. Demo lab is that you were making a product, but now you should like go and start to marketing, make the marketing more. And so, have you thought about like how to connect now if you have a kind of like a decent, maybe the narrative part is more kind of on that area that you concentrate. So have you thought about these things, like how you sell your, what kind of like what kind of platforms you are selling, not only the Steam but social media or such? Because
well, that is actually a good question, and we have some reinforcements coming in for Product Lab as well. So from Tico's side, we're gonna get some additions to our team, and the initial thought was that they would be interested in marketing. So that would be the starting point, actually dedicate someone for marketing, because we haven't had that so far, and basically all the marketing has been just within our own social circles for the most part. So very much that's a stupid word. Guerrilla marketing, basically. Yes.
And this was really about the future thing for the next spring time. And it's really great to hear that you have been considered, and there are coming some like additional superpowers to your group. So very good. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? All right. Juho. Take the box.
I would like to know the future mechanics from shooting. What are the future upgrades for weapon side? Are the rapid fire, or is there going to be a laser beam or a Gauss gun? How do you do it with your fingers? Like, have you thought about that?
We actually thought about that extensively at the very beginning of the project already, because we kind of had a lot of ideas for different kinds of weapons, but then we basically scrapped them for the demo, and were possibly bringing some of them maybe in the future as well. And there's also a lot we can extend when it comes to like the power-up side of things and the abilities that the player has, because so far we only have the parry and the time slowdown.
Yeah, you probably already thought. I really recommend like air guitar and the shotgun movement.
Yeah, and we already have plans for a massive AoE nuke involving your middle finger.
Amazing.
Anybody else? Alrighty, so I guess that we're done. Thank you.
And the last team.
Are we ready? Yeah. Okay, so this is the final presentation of the 100 Kalevala project. And I probably need this. This was awkward. So this is the final presentation for 100 Kalevala. We were able to finish in time, and the game is on Steam currently. So the team is I was the product owner, and Evgeny here was the programmer, Ilya was the 3D modeler, and Ilona here was the Scrum Master, and Jaakko Kuorekoski was the audio guy. So regarding the project, we didn't do everything from scratch as we used a pretty hefty amount of assets. So here's a nice list of the assets. If you want to do similar looking game, you can just get these off from the Unreal Engine store. So what I did for the project generally was managing it all so it doesn't crash and burn, and implemented pretty much a lot of, let's say, audio, some part of the UI, a part of the gameplay controller, like in so that it works where it needs to, and environment, as you can see, the burning house and some of the player locations. I decided which goes where and how the graphics should look. In a way, it was a design decision to make it dark as possible to hide all the ugly stuff. But also because I really like the lighting system on Unreal Engine. So, Evgeny.
Hello. So I was a programmer, like node-based programmer, actually, and this node mechanic helped me to focus on actual programming thinking. So I'm glad I switched to Unreal Engine for this project. What I did is pretty much everything that have connection with nodes. It's a player controller, weapons, different UI elements. So Juha was working with UI elements too, but in terms of UI, I was like a tool designer. So I made the UI, give it to Juha, and Juha, okay, this UI doesn't look as it should, and he modified it to the final version. And I was helping with the nodes, like everybody who needed some help, and yeah, I was providing it. I think that's it. Yeah, about good and bad parts of our project we'll talk about a little bit later. And now I think it's turn of Ilya to talk about his job.
Hey. Sorry. Okay, I was working on 3D model stuff and animations. So what to talk about? All weapons are created by me. Also, monster. That's pretty monster. Was bought from Unity, Unreal Store, and I was redoing all animations to that pretty good monster. Yep. So what else? Some so visual stuff created by me. Mostly. Some of them are bought. Some of them not. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Arms animations are some. If you can see, arms animations need to be fixed, but yeah, it's the problem of Unreal and access system of Blender and Unreal, like difference with that. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I was working with as a Scrum Master, and in the beginning, like environment. So what I learned, it's like lightning with Lumen, working with Unreal 5 new version, and large environment, lot of trees. First we tried to add some Burgess trees, and then it was mistake, we remove loads because it was like something like occlusion cooling or something working, that trees became like without leaves. So got some bugs, some troubles with that, and then of course I have this laptop hard issue, and last time already was like less motivated, but still I'm doing portfolio and enjoy working like a Scrum Master. So made like reports every week, meetings, and so on.
So Jakob, about 3 weeks after, decided that Unreal Engine is shit, and so he wanted more about doing the audio-related tasks within the studio. So he was basically relieved from his duties, so he was able to focus on the stuff that he really likes to do. And I ended up then doing the audio implementation with the audio recordings he and Matti and Mira did on the studio. Of course, the original plan for the project was that it was like an immersive nature with all of the even more audio, like the day and night cycle would work perfectly, and it's like a semi-open world, much to explore, and there's like a melee and ranged weapons like the bow and the traps mechanics and everything, and the monster will be actually like in 3 stages, so you actually have to research how to kill it and craft even more weapons, but that proved out to be way too large. So the current basically project what we ended up having is just still man versus the beast, and but it's a simpler nature, as the nature is there is a thunderstorm 24/7 to sync all other audio issues behind it, and we have a fixed day and night cycle, so it starts like 2 a.m. in the morning and keeps going until the player finishes the game or dies. So, and then we ended up ditching the gameplay controller completely, and just because Evgeny said that it's best to approach, just do it from scratch, and I was like approved that yeah, maybe we should do everything from scratch, as that way we learn much more than just do an Unreal Engine asset flip with the gameplay controller. So that's where the most of the time went to, like with the gameplay controller itself. And of course the monster is there, but it doesn't change or anything. It's pretty dumb too. It just follows you around, hears you, has a very basic functions, and doesn't. But it's cool, and the animations are cool. But it's not as functional as we wanted it to be, as we didn't have any time to implement any of the actual features on the AI. So this is like, there's no much more, like some of you when we were last time here and we talk about these problems, there wasn't anything new or major happening on the challenges side. It's still, there was the progress time was lost because of the sicknesses, motivation, the leadership was gone for a moment, so the product actually suffered from that. And the hardware issues, of course, from the start, that we had to put up our own server machine with large file support to be able to support the Unreal Engine files. And of course, though, that pre-made assets do not make the complete game, as we had many problems implementing our own design on those ready-made assets. That would have meant just everything was in shambles unless we did it from scratch. And it was a pretty large project for the size of the team that are capable of doing it. Because basically on the office it was me, Evgeny and Ilya most of the time after the work on the environment was done by Ilona. So that's where the last month went, just fighting the bugs and trying to make the game work. So the project state that it is done and playable has a lot of bugs that we missed, and like the currently Ilona mentioned the colliders, because we did so many changes and trying to fool around with the default asset package, the colliders exploded, so you can find a bush that has like a kilometer size of a collider, so you can get stuck on it. So to hastily fix the bug, you know, just remove the colliders, no problem. Well, there was still some colliders there. Actually, I think we can talk individually about the good and bad of the project at this stage, because I forgot to add the slide on that. I think the good stuff so far was the intentions that we went to the project as a learn Unreal Engine and see what happens. That's definitely was the big plus. We learned a lot about the engine itself, and if we started this project from scratch, we will be able to do all the tasks in much faster time frame than we did for this current project. And I really was glad that, even though it was a lot of crunching, that the boys were able to stick with me on the office, even though like it wasn't that much fun in middle of the night, just realizing, this is gonna be another of these weeks for another week in the row that's just doing the game and trying to make it work somewhat. So, do you want to go through the good, then talk about more of the bad? Or?
Yeah, I think everybody should talk about good and bad stuff of their own work.
Start with bad and then
yeah, okay, then so the special request from the audience. Let's talk about the bad things first. Well, at the start of the project, I didn't know about Unreal Engine anything except of its Unreal and its engine. So first of all, I had to learn stuff about it, and it consumed a huge amount of time from me, and in terms of teachers' help. So yeah, I got the teacher's help, but like one day I spent 3 hours with the teacher just to add 4 nodes, and yeah, it's kind of help, but not that help that I was expecting. So most of the time I was working alone, trying to solve my own problems that I imagined to myself. And here's like good parts. I learned a lot of stuff, and because this is node system, I was focusing on programming side, like programming thinking, and that's why all my project is kind of well organized. I hope I myself say that. And right now, I created a really decent basis of my game. So if you ask a new material, I can add it in 5 minutes. If you ask for a new weapon, I can add it in like half of the day. If you ask for anything else, I can add it in a short amount of time. I hope, like if I had much time, I would do that. You can just add some files to a special folder, and this item will automatically add to the game. So I think I can edit this feature in 2 months, but the Ticorporate is finished, and I didn't manage to do it on our project. But yeah, I really like the things that's working right now, and I only hope that I had time to add more.
Okay, about my stuff. So first of all, what went bad? My sleeping regime is not flexible enough. So I not a good job to fix it. But after Ticorporate is over, my shipping regime will also break. So about 3D model stuff. That was first time that I worked with a huge amount of animations and stuff, and it was a kind of stressful thing to create those. What else? Also, implementation of some models are good, of course. What did not well, I think communication inside of team. So yeah, that started a lot of problems of that.
For me, when good that we learn Unreal 5. Also in group, I learn also ZenHub, Fork, ZenHub for Unreal, and know a lot of new stuff like Perforce and some other things. Also, I able to see how they work with characters, how make actual game with character, because before I didn't have experience, only like environment and only like assets. Bad things, it's like computer hardware. Thank you.
This is in low battery. I'm gonna try being fast with this one. The bad stuff regarding we clearly failed from the ground up with the scrumming and the communication related how the project should be managed. The Zen Hub was a good tool at start, but we basically ditched the whole thing 1 month ago because we knew what we had to do. So we worked on just fixing the bugs on the end of the production and post-production. So what else? I think it's best when new teachers can ask completely what went wrong, so I can pinpoint the problems. But I would like to show you the trailer and the Steam page. Like, if you, as you see, there still was like a lot of people working for this project, like at least to some degree. So it wasn't just us who were sitting at the office. It was basically the music team, the audio team, and basically the back end of helping to set up the server and all these extra help with the Unreal Engine itself. So what else? Is there much else to do? Well, yeah, the game went live, and instantly we got like, yeah, this is shit. It was a little bit discouraging, and we hoping it will be a little bit better. But as the time ran out, we just weren't able to fix all the issues we wanted. But we were able to implement all the gameplay elements we designed at the start of the project, at least most of them. I think that's it. Do you guys got any questions? Oh, cool. Damn, the trailer was really dark. Yeah.
Sorry if you covered this already during the presentation a bit more in depth, but like, what do you think is the main reason that the Scrum process didn't really work?
I think it was the communication and language wall mostly.
So you think there was an issue with the language barrier?
Yes, in a way. But and also because I was not able to fully focus on the product leader job, as I took multiple hats to work on the project, and that's one of my bad habits. But I think the project would already been put down if I didn't take some of those jobs, or the game will be in even worse shape.
So would you say that in the future versions of this course they should balance the teams out more in terms of at least having one person who's very good with communication in each team? Would that help you guys?
Yeah, and I think in our case it would be really helpful, and even for Ilona's learning perspective, if we had a separate, even one or two extra personnel and one like really specialized for scrumming, so we could actually keep the project flowing even more so. But then did we learn anything from the Scrum system? In a way we did, but it was more of a pain in the ass than actual help. So we do not know what the good scrumming is at this stage, because we were so focused trying to get the game work rather than speak out. Everything inside the office worked, but all the documentation, all the like scheduling, everything, all the meetups, everything was
the project side work.
Yeah, the project side work doing, but everything documentation all was screwed up. Yeah.
All right, hello. En puhu suoraan siihen, please. Kiitos. How far am I going to have to hold this? Okay.
By the way, thank you for helping us on the midway.
Yeah, okay. What would you, if you went to product lab, if you went to product lab, I don't know if you are, but if you are...
Jesus Christ, no.
How would you do things differently from the project management side? Would you change roles? Would you get some more people? What would it look like if you...
If we went to product lab, it would need 3 extra people, most definitely, and the team would be rebalanced, and the whole setup of the project would be done perfectly, as perfectly as it can be done. Basically, the server, the issues we had and all the hardware issues, like it's just like have everything ready and get everybody together and all that, like get the Scrum process going right from the start, like correct way. Then it probably would help a lot.
But if you didn't want to use the Scrum framework, like you don't have to use it in the product lab. So if you got to choose like the way you would like to organize from now on, how would you do that?
I would probably just go back to my old ways and basically do Scrumming and product managing, project leading at the same time.
So you would take more charge of the overall product.
Yeah, overall production and planning and all that stuff. I know it's not ideal, but I kinda can do it. Because
if it
works for me.
Yeah, if it works for you, it's
But
ideal.
then I would of course give more stuff like, no, I don't have time to do this, so you have to do this. So that will mean we would still need more people.
Yeah. Would in that case Ilona take more?
Ilona will take more of the stuff that she wants to do.
Yeah, to do more of the environment design and so on.
And in a kind of way, I was also like kind of selfish in this way, because I personally really wanted to do more in the engine. So we split the environment design that way, that Ilona did the ground up and I the groundwork, and I basically did all this. This is the player start. This is the area you're gonna explore and all that settings.
But yeah, overall, I think it's been a big learning experience in many ways.
Yeah.
Like, even though it might have been very painful, but
it's, let's just say, I lost my shit more than once. Yeah. But I tried to keep it as adult responsible as possible, and like not to usually turn into text-based beep beep beep, I'm so beep beep, and the next day I went back to work like, yeah, this is good, this is gonna be fine, but the next day it repeats. So.
I only have a comment concerning that. I see that there are many really big issues, like also that concerning the roles, and the management, and you have a new, totally new game engine what you are dealing with, and then no background with it too much. I don't know how much. I don't know that, for example, Ilona got something, but I'm also thinking it from the learning viewpoint. Like at the end of the day, now it might seem like okay, it went like this, okay, but like and if there is, Yevgeny said that you were struggling with the things like and now you can do it much more faster. I remember that a few years back they were like. With Unity, they've done the students have done already something, and the project starts, and they were made some assets like 12 hours or something. At the end of the demo lab, it was not 12 minutes, but something like that. It's all learning things, and that's the main thing in demo lab. So think it also from that perspective.
Yeah, and also maybe do not forget that like at least more than half of your group never done an Unreal project.
Yes. Yeah.
So in that sense, I think like do not forget about that. Like you had high ambitions right from the start, and maybe that is because you've been doing stuff so much before this. So yeah.
And if you come back to the question where what would be done differently, I think that as for me, I really require a person that will like control everything and say everybody what to do, because when the project just started, I was not dedicated like some special product like in terms of Scrum role. I was just like a team member, a programmer, but whatever. And I decided that, well, if I'm a programmer, I will do like the programming only. And I was visiting like Zen Hub, like taking my task and working on it. And like the week after, I was requesting spear animations from Ilya. And when I saw Ilya working on the knife animations, I thought that something is wrong. So since then, I tried to communicate at least with Ilya more about like concerning the animations and whatsoever. But as for me, I think it's some others' role to control and manage this stuff. Because like as a programmer, I'd like to say that if I'm a programmer, I am only the programmer.
According that Evgeny only a programmer, when we were speaking with Yuha about new feature system, new features, and Evgeny shout out in midnight that, guys, no, we can't afford it because we don't have any time. And that was really fun because we needed to decide in a Scrum, during Scrum meeting about that, but Evgeny shout out that, no, please, I can't do it. So yeah, we need some person who can manage dates.
Yeah, it was the same week as I requested help from the teachers. I was sitting and trying to fix some bugs, and then I saw how Ilya and Juho was encouragingly discussing new mechanics that they can add to the game, and how it would be really interesting when like the monster hits you and the spear breakdowns, and then like the character with a like broken leg and half of the pinky finger is like trying to heal himself, and yeah, that's something we can avoid.
I think at that time we realized, yeah, like let's not add anything. We just started actually removing features at that point. And I really like how Evgeny actually approached me like, hey, as a programmer, I think this is a shit idea. Well, I agree with you. Let's do something about it. So we sat through 2 to 3 hours just completely rescheduling the Zen Hub. Like, this is what we do. And we realized like half of the project just went to the ice box, basically. So we're like, hey, now it's feasible. We can do it. And it's there. And it's done. Apparently the computer is done too.
So, what my question will be. I will just first say I'm really happy that you're laughing and you see and also that you see. The self-reflection is excellent here. So well done. But how do you feel now? You made it. You made it. And you have a game in Steam and it's published. I have to admit that personally, I didn't. At some point, I was scared that you will not make it, but you did it. You made it. How do you feel now as a team about being published in Steam and having it out there?
No, thanks, Scrum Master.
I just personally think everybody is just glad it's over in a way. We would like to do a lot of fixing for it, but I think it's just good let it be, let the dead dogs lie and just move on, because this would need another 2 to 3 months to fix those issues. So just take what we learn and move on, and not take this to product lab. If I was taking this kind of project to product lab, I just would start beginning and redesign and from use what we learned to do better.
Yeah, as for me, I feel kind of good because like I have like 2 details that I have to say, like good and bad. So the good is I made a lot of mechanics work in the right way. The bad thing is due to the haste at the end, and because we were like. Yeah, because like I understood that we need to like fix our project before the release, and I did a lot of mechanics the way they shouldn't like appear in the game, and that's kind of killing me, because I think that if you do something, it should work properly without like hard code or something like that, and that's the only thing that pisses me off.
I feel like that guy from Game Awards with Bill Clinton. And now a little stressful time is gone, and now I can focus on some things that I not can't implement in that game, and focus on improving my own like 3D skills, and so on.
Can I add into your comments, or Ilona, you want to say something?
In the beginning, we start like history comment. We start packaging our game, so every part must be without bugs. And when we kind of mix the game together, then we face some bugs, and then we remove, and then process start. We made it, and then I'm actually like Scrum. I start to be relaxed. They will do.
I want to add to your comments that. And especially what Juho said. However, now remember that this is excellent material for your portfolio, and don't forget this project. When you take now this project in your portfolio and you go into an interview and you say, and you're able to explain at the job interview what you have learned from this project, what you have told now today here about what you have learned, this is excellent. This is very good. And that is what Risto said about the student project. If you're able to bring this experience now into your working life, you will have a very bright future in there, I assure you. Yeah. Thank you.
Agree totally. Yeah, that's like that. So, good ending line.
Is Ticorporate over now?
Yes.
Yes!